And Sabir, that's because I listen to you and I'm so inspired by you. And I think
I inspire people.
Yeah, I think you do. I think you do. I think you inspire people. I think you check people, but you inspire people, and I appreciate a check because I believe that if we can't look honestly at ourselves, especially as a community, then we really don't have much of a future, and we have to be honest with ourselves.
I used to stay in Detroit, so your brother, I love Detroit, and I just left Detroit 3 weeks ago. And I've seen the changes that you're talking about there.
Yeah, yes.
But also, before we get started, this is my brother Amadeus Christ. I don't know if he is the director of Out of Darkness.
Tell us what what is your mission when you go online and you're speaking to people that follow you? It's in the thousands and thousands of people that follow you. And why do you feel so propelled to give this knowledge and to talk so much about history, the Moors, and who are the Moors? And,
I don't. You won't even have that much time.
I know.
I'm gonna tell you this real quick.
We're over at 9:30.
The short version of this.
Okay, the short version.
I grew up in Philadelphia, in South Philadelphia. I grew up there. You know, I was in the streets. I was really a guy that was in the streets, but I always was close to the Nation of Islam, and I always came up, watching Malcolm and watch how Malcolm dealt with the politics and dealt with the police, and I'm like, man, I want to be like this guy. But even though I was still in the street, but fast forward, got out of it. I was in Sunni Islam. And from Sunni Islam, I came into this knowledge about the Moors because it was a brother that was in my neighborhood. He used to walk around with that fez on his head. They used to call it. We said hats, but it was a fez. Didn't understand what it was. I had one live next door to me. They never talked to us because they was more so on a religious tip. They never really built with the people. So we thought they were a cult like everyone else until I ran across a brother in the market. Me being in Sunni Islam, having the beard, the kufi. I asked the brother a question. I said, well, brother, what is that on your head? What do you call that? And he said, brother, come to my house. I want to show you something. Now, this is almost 20 years ago. And I was like, what is it? So he was like, brother, he pulled out a book, a regular Webster's dictionary, and it reminded me of what was going on with Malcolm. And he said, I want you to look up this word. And the word was Indian. He said, now I want you to dissect the word. The word was Indian. He said, look up the word Indian, which is indigo. I said, wait a minute. And he said, who you think they're talking about? They're talking about you and I. So I sat with this brother for 3 years. From that point on, slowly but surely, everything started getting cut off. My beard was getting cut off. I took my, we call it jalabia off, took the kufi off, and started, wearing a fez. So I ran across another elder by the brother named Sabir Bey 3 years later. Because it wasn't Brother Taj who brought me in, it was another brother who brought me in. And from there, it was history. Then I was like, our people got to know about this. So I started a newspaper in 2001. 2001, I had a newspaper called Civil Alert. And from there, I started a radio show called Civil Alert in 2003. So I've been on radio for like 15 years. Mm-hmm. And I said, this information needs to get out to the people. So I would stay in law libraries. I would stay in regular libraries. It was like jumping from one library to the next library. So I would constantly be in law library. That's why you hear me say what I say on the videos. And I've been saying it on radio the same way. I was challenged the politicians. I would challenge the police that would, because we had politicians, police, everybody on our radio show. And I was the outside guy. I was the guy they was trying to figure out, like, who is this dude? What school did he go to? Like, how did he know this? Mm-hmm. So I would correct people when they would say, police brutality. I said, it doesn't exist. It's police terrorism. I would, and show you where that's at and say, if you want justice, let's talk about human rights. Mm-hmm. So you have to have a nationality to deal with human rights. So all these things came in, the nationality, the Moors. And in Philadelphia, it's a known fact in history that our nationality was taken in 1774. And then in 1779, Negro, black, and color was placed on us. And I'm sitting here saying, well, if I know this, why our politicians, our black leaders don't know this? Why are we still talking about civil rights when Malcolm was talking about human rights? You remember that?
Yes, yes.
Why do you never hear no black leader talk about human rights today?
Yeah.
Do you ever hear them talk about
it?
Never.
No, not in Las Vegas.
You never, nowhere, right?
Anywhere.
You only heard Malcolm talking about it.
Moors. And what is Moors?
Well, when we say Moor, we talking about, like, somebody said, well, Moor, I heard somebody, I was with Eddie Griffin last night, so one of the security guards said, well, Moor just means black. But that's an adjective to describe something.
Right.
So it's like I'm saying this is a black book, right? But what kind of black book is it? Mm-hmm. What's the noun? It's a law dictionary. There you go, right?
Right.
So that's what we're talking about. So at one time, we were called blackamoor. You know, so what they did is drop the noun and left the adjective there.
Okay.
That's not identifying people. I mean, in the 60s, they said in the 60s, what happened? You called somebody black, what happened?
Oh, you got in the fight.
Thank you very much, right?
Yeah.
You got into a fight. So why is it acceptable today?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So who said that? So if we are given history, and Noble Drew Ali said, stop using names that allude to slavery. That's Negro, black, and colored. Okay. So if slavery's over, then why are we still using names that allude to that? You follow me? So when you read J.A. Rogers' book, he said, in the book, he said we were Ethiopians and Moors before the 1500s. So when do they start our history at? 1600, right? During slavery, right? Like our history started in slavery.
Yeah.
It didn't start in slavery.
It didn't start there.
So even down to listening to Stevie Wonder's soundtrack to Bamboozled, in the soundtrack, he said in 1492, when y'all came upon these shores, 700 years educated by the Moors. This is in the soundtrack to Bamboozled. I'm sitting there like, wow, they're not getting this, man. Somebody's misleading our people. It's about having knowledge of self, truly having knowledge of self. And going to a so-called, would you say, black college is not going to teach that.
Right.
It's you have to know within you. Everything is already in you. And even when you study education, edu means to draw out what's already in you. That's what it means, to draw out what's in. So what happens, when you're in these colleges, they only putting in.
Right.
And then they taking right back out of you. So you have to know who you are. When I just talked about truly understanding and not saying I'm African American and I'm black, knowing who your ancestors truly are, because you are what your ancestors are, without no doubt a contradiction. So again, if I'm teaching you for 12 years in my school system, you want to repeat exactly what I'm going to tell you. You came from nothing. I'm going to give you all the slave movies. This is what you are. You are inferior. It's not white supremacy. It's inferiority. So we're going to teach you. This is what it is. So we have to teach our people truly who they are so they can stand up. Because, again, light penetrates darkness when you know who you are.
That's right.